Welcome, family, friends, and loved ones. Today marks a milestone, not only in the lives of Brandon Rose and Karl Gruber, but in both of these great families. I want to thank you and welcome you, and thank you for your participation in this joyful occasion. I want to express my profound gratitude to both of you for honoring me with this small part in your fairy tale. Thank you. I would also especially like to thank Brandon's parents, Terry Rose, and the late Carolyn Pearson Rose, and Karl's parents, George and Nancy Gruber, for the truly outstanding jobs they have done in raising these two incredible individuals. We are here today to share and rejoice in the sacred commitment that Brandon and Karl make to one another, to offer our love and support to this union. And let me remind everyone gathered here today that our presence is not accidental. Each of us has played a role, whether it be large or seemingly small, in bringing Brandon and Karl to this point in their lives today. Each of us will also play a role in their marriage from this day forward, for it is you, the witnesses, who are the living seal of this commitment. Your attendance today is an agreement to reinforce this union with the emotional provisions of shared joy in their successes, reassurance and encouragement when things get hard, and in lending advice when and only when it is solicited. It is forever our job to support, strengthen, and sustain this couple. And to this handsome couple in front of me, remember that although there are a lot of people who have been married in this world, or who have been married, none of them have been in your marriage. So listen to the advice from others. You stand so much to gain from the insights of their experiences. Weigh the advice you're given, and you make the decisions that serve you both. I'm going to go off script just a little bit right here and say it was always been very interesting for me to think that if this moment were to ever happen to my best friend Karl, who would be standing next to him? Karl is loud and energetic and talkative. He lives his life a million miles a minute, and he will do everything for everyone. And I have lived with him in several occasions in several different apartments throughout our lives. And sometimes it is a lot. But it has also always been a blessing. Brandon, on the other hand, as I've come to know him, is calm, he's steady, he's quiet, and he's established. He's financially established. Karl has always had roommates. He's never wanted to live alone. He's always enjoyed being in the company of others. And so it was very interesting to see that when he did meet Brandon, rather than bring Brandon into the chaos of his apartment and his roommates, Karl enjoyed going to Brandon's home to spend time together and to get to know each other, watch movies, make dinners, go for walks. The peace and quiet and stability is exactly what Karl has found in his perfect half. Because you two have taken the time to build your foundation on mutual respect, admiration, honesty, and your genuine fondness for each other, your commitment will stand the test of time. Allow your relationship to change and evolve, because life will always change and evolve. Always rejoice in the little events that life delivers you day to day, for that is where you will find the shared joy that will deepen your love and strengthen your bond. Marriage will require a great demand on your generosity for each other and provide you both with a new challenge. In an imperfect world where conflict abounds, passion and beauty can sometimes fade. It is so inspiring to see two people stand up for love. The commitment you two make to each other today is without a doubt what is good and right in the universe. The reason for a wedding ceremony is to witness and affirm the choice the two of you make to stand together as partners. However, this ceremony cannot make your marriage. Only the two of you can do this by working together. You are making a commitment today before your family and friends, but every day after, you will need to nourish this commitment together. You will need patience, humility. Karl, you'll have to talk less and listen more. Brandon, you'll need to talk more. Remember to be gentle with each other in conflict and don't be surprised by it. Just remember how easily it is that you get mad at yourself as you go about your life, so please don't be surprised or offended when your spouse gets mad at you either. Know that these moments will happen, and on these occasions, when you might question your relationship, take a deep breath, remember this day and the sight before you, and remember the reasons that led you here. Forgive easy, remain friends, and never forget that you like the person you love. Brandon and Karl have each written their own vows, so I'm going to ask them to turn and face each other. Brandon is going to go first.
Karl, my love, a chance encounter has brought us here today. So crazy how the universe works. Meeting that first time, something really resonated with me about you. The more we talked, I could tell how kind, considerate, good-hearted you were, and of course, how handsome. A true catch, for sure. I remember telling you before you left that day, even if we don't end up dating, I can see us becoming a life. Life has taken us on completely different paths. We both struggle to find acceptance with ourselves. So many challenges, heartaches, but also so much joy and happiness and happy times. I feel I need to pinch myself sometimes to remind me that it's real. It's really happening. We began texting and planning to get together again and again. It was an instant connection. I look forward to our routine of texting in the evening and catching up on our day's events. On our date nights, we always seemed to be very comfortable around each other. I never worried about what to talk about or that the conversation would dry up. It just came so easy, especially with you. You fill in the gaps very easily. When we would go out to dinner or a movie, I was a little apprehensive in the beginning. Being on a date with a guy in public was an uneasy feeling for me. But in time, you helped me become more comfortable with myself, and I began to feel more confident and safe with you by my side. We share a great love of the outdoors. I'm blessed to have you to share the adventures with. Brighton has held a special place in both of our hearts. Lots of fun times here in these beautiful mountains around us, so it's very fitting for us to be taking these vows and making these commitments to each other here today. Joining hand in hand for the remainder of our lives, witnessed by so many, sharing in our joy and our love story. Families are important. They help mold, guide, and support us. We both are blessed with amazing families both very different, but also so similar. As I look around, I can feel the love and energy of those present and from those not here today. From day one, I always felt welcomed around your family, always being greeted with warm smiles and open arms. Thank you. I know they were very interested in getting to know me. The one that had a hand on your heart. I'm so happy to officially be joining the Gruber gang. No longer just a friend or boyfriend. I will continue to strive to be a good role model and crafting buddy to the younger generations. I look forward to you getting to know my family even better, learning of many fun times and stories about my mom. She would have loved you, I have no doubt of that. We both have great groups of friends, very supportive and fun. We have years of fun evenings and adventures with them ahead of us. Everyone getting better acquainted with you and each other. During our friend groups together, sharing stories of the past, and making more memories. It's hard to find time in our busy lives, but hopefully we can get together more and celebrate all that life has to offer. Once I decided you were the one, I began to imagine fun ideas of when and how to propose. Choosing a ring, what I would say, figuring out how to capture the moment was kind of important to me. I had originally planned to ask you to marry me here in these mountains. But when we started planning the Disney World trip, I knew that was going to be the place. It was just a matter of distracting you, so you didn't catch on. A very wise and imaginative man once said, "If you can dream it, you can do it." Walt Disney. Well, I dreamt it. With a little help, we captured it. And here we are today. With a little faith, trust, and a bit of pixie dust, our united love will continue to grow stronger and more magical. A quote from Winnie the Pooh goes like this: "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know." I now fully believe those words. I never thought this moment would ever happen for me. It's so surreal. Anyone that has spent time around us knows how much we enjoy each other's company and the love we share. We enjoy even the little mundane things like running errands. We make the most of it, our time together, and sometimes I feel like a cat. Just happy to be in the same room as you. I eagerly look forward to our married life together, sharing our thoughts and feelings, enjoying quiet evenings together, outdoor adventures, family and friend gatherings, planning fun trips to explore the world hand in hand. I will make you my first priority. I promise to continue to treat you as my equal and take the time to understand your thoughts and feelings. Growing and building on the foundation we have already built our love story around. You are my one, my only. With you I feel whole. I'm proud to have you by my side. You have my heart and soul. I love you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was great. Brandon, on our very first date, I came to your home and you started showing me around and talking about your family and friends and just a little bit about you and your house and all the things you love in it. And what I'll never forget and what stood out so much is how open and vulnerable and humble you were You were just yourself. No one acts like that on a first date. You were just completely open about everything you thought or things you didn't like or about different situations. I never met someone so comfortable in their own skin. I love that so much, and it was immediately what made me begin to admire you and love you and want to spend more time with you. I love how our family circles and friendship circles have blended together. Thank you for embracing my family and going on more and attending more family events than you could ever imagine. He's a trooper. We do a lot. Early on in our relationship, we went to a Halloween party, and I had to leave early to go work at Walmart. And hours later, my brother texted me and said, "Brandon's still here talking with us." I was shocked. And it was a moment, I told my coworkers, I was like, "Oh my gosh, guess what happened?" And I was so excited, just because I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's there enjoying my family without me." And that was the moment where I knew there was some potential in this relationship. I love how when you're with my family and friends, you're so present and you're there. And especially with my family, he just puts his phone away and he's there and he engages with everybody. And it's so admirable. My life has turned out different than I ever would have imagined. And you're so different from the guy, and at one point in my life, girl, who I would have pictured being with. Our histories, interests, personalities, talents, hobbies, morning schedules, shower lengths, taste in movies, taste in food, I could go on. They're so different. And we've discussed that. We've discussed that and worried about that at times. No two people or spreadsheet or dating algorithm would ever put us together. But it works. But what surprised me and stood out to me from the very beginning, in a way I've never experienced before, is how much I just simply enjoy being with you. Doing the very simple things like running errands, or the ridiculously complex things like planning a wedding, or fun things like skiing. Like, we just have fun in all those situations. For years, one of the tests I ran through my mind of who I wanted to be with was, would I enjoy being on a month-long road trip with just that person? And I can say absolutely yes. I just love being with you. Okay, but this isn't me telling everyone about how wonderful he is, even though he is. So I'm going to promise a few things. You've taught me a lot about communication, and I promise to do better, and better with that. He's so good. Being honest, bringing up issues quickly and in the moment, but also, and here's your real wish, succinctly and to the point, and then dropping it, which I have a hard time doing. I promise I'll try. Related to communication, I also love the talks we have, but I also love the comfortable silence we have. I've never been with anyone where I can enjoy silence so well, and I promise to do better at that. But it is wonderful. There are certain things that matter to you and not to me, like recycling, putting trash in bags and not directly in the main garbage can, rinsing off dishes, closing cupboards, not changing lanes every 30 seconds, turning clothes inside out while washing them. There's a long list. And I promise to do better. I really do. It's often just it's a matter of seconds, but mostly consideration. And I'm going to do better. Probably not with the dishes, but everything else. I'm going to try to be better. I really will. Rain, stay away. Okay. You are wonderful and generous and sweet about letting me take the lead with movies and TV shows, and willing to try things that are not your normal thing or your favorite genre, like period pieces and Disney movies and music. I really appreciate the Disney quotes, by the way. Disney movies and musicals and Marvel movies. But he's a trooper, and I appreciate so much how you just go along with it because you know it matters. And I need to do better reciprocating with that. I promise to watch more Discovery Network shows about aliens and hunting for treasure and shows about remodeling and even the 80s shows that I missed out on because I was in a bubble. That all said, I still don't watch your horror movies, I'm sorry, and Uncle Alan, who's probably watching, I will not watch the horror movies, but other than that, I'm going to try to do better. Like I said, Brandon's he's an incredibly hard worker. Thank you. One of Brandon's wonderful traits is his attitude toward money. He has always made more than I have, and not once in nearly 5 years of being together has he ever held that against me or judged me for it or brought it up in any way. He's never judged my finances or my job choices, which are debatable. He's generous and great about finding a balance between enjoying money, but being responsible, and being frugal in wise ways, but never being cheap or stingy. I promise to be as classy and generous with things related to money as you've shown me. You put up with a lot of Disney. And I'll try to patiently and cheerfully embrace your love of the Halloween season, which is honestly more than my love of Disney. Snoopy and gnomes and abstract art that I don't understand. I will continue to go to art shows and festivals and try to even be a fraction as engaged and as excited as you are about them. Art's important to you, so I'll let your art, and so I'll let my art, and by that I mean vintage posters and scenic photography and weird Disney things that mean nothing to you, take a back seat, because you do that for me in so many things. Your mother gave you a love of shopping, and even if it were that reason alone, I'll continue to shop with you longer and more thoroughly and more patiently than my Gruber instinct would normally do. I'll patiently wait on a hike with you while you search for rocks, but even better, I'll search with you. I'll try to believe in aliens more. And I give you permission to continue to show me all my faults. I hate it and I love it. I'm very bold about it. It's been very humbling and sometimes hard, but it's also been good. I'm a very slow learner and not good at breaking habits, but I'll try. I love knowing that you can fix things, and I promise to break less things and be a little more careful. This is one of my favorites, I love when we're fixing things and doing things in the house and it goes horribly wrong, like this wedding. Or we're doing some home improvement projects that take longer than expected, cost more than expected, or I mess something up. You never lose your cool. You handle mishaps and frustrations in these situations very well. I promise to do better with that and be more like you when situations or projects or timelines don't line up with my expectations. It might be impossible from your perspective, but I'll try to be a better driver. When I text you, I'll try to consolidate 5 text messages into one. I'll try to close the fridge. It's not a complicated fridge, but I struggle a lot. So there's the small things like the fridge and the laundry and all these little things, but what I really want to promise is more significant, because I want to share with everyone how wonderful you are and go off about those things, but what I really want to share and promise is to make our lives as wonderful as possible. I'm so excited to spend our lives together. Thank you for asking me to marry you in the most perfect way possible. It was magical, and bringing me into your life in so many ways. We both have personality quirks and traits that we struggle with, but I've seen you trying to become better for me, and I've tried to become better for you. It's been a balance of staying ourselves, but improving and becoming better for each other, and in general, and becoming better in general. I've loved this journey, and it will only get better because we're trying and doing it together. I promise to be completely committed to you for the rest of our lives. There's no one I'd rather spend my life with. And I've been surrounded by amazing people for almost 50 years, so that's really saying something. I know there are going to be some great times and rough times, and we've already had some, but I love being with you through it all. Thanks again for being you, and I promise to do everything I can to make our lives together wonderful and perfect and amazing as possible as a married couple. Thank you.
Brandon and Karl have been wearing engagement rings on their right hands, but they are now going to exchange their wedding rings and wear those on the traditional left hands. Brandon, do you take Karl to be your beloved spouse, to communicate kindly, to share your wisdom, to give of your abilities and talents completely and without reservation, to love unconditionally in sickness as well as in health, to live in truth, and to always be worthy of his love?
I do.
And Karl, do you take Brandon to be your beloved spouse, to communicate kindly, to share your wisdom, to give your abilities and talents completely and without reservation, to love unconditionally in sickness as well as in health, to live in truth, and to always be worthy of his love.
I do. I do.
Having witnessed your vows for marriage with all who are assembled here and by the authority vested in me in the state of Utah, I announce with incredible joy that you are lawfully married. You may kiss. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please take out your streamers and give a big cheer as I present to you the newest couple in the world, Brandon Rose and Karl Gruber. Karl's saying, let's go in and not do a photo right.
He just did his job. I remember thinking, this is going to be very hard working here, not talking to someone. Now, it took some time and some effort, a lot of time and some effort, but I broke him. And I was in. And now, as many of you are already aware, because you're here, once you're in with Brandon, you're in for life. We've been friends ever since. I'm sure many of you have been on the receiving end of gifts from Brandon, whether it be birthday, Christmas, birth of a child. When my nephew Hudson was born, who's here, Brandon gave him a stuffed animal. It was the bulldog. Hudson loved that stuffed animal growing up. When my grandmother passed away in 2018, Brandon graciously came to her funeral, and I've been very lucky to call him my friend. A few years ago, I asked Brandon to be my man of honor at my wedding. He accepted without question, and he performed all the duties that came along with that title. He was the only guy at my wedding shower, and he was happy being there. Around that time, Brandon told me he'd met a sweet guy. His name was Karl. Brandon was very excited, and he lit up when we spoke about him. It didn't take long before Karl, Brandon, my husband Charlie, and I all started hanging out. One of the first things we did together, we went to the Viva La Diva drag show. We had so much fun. Getting to know Karl as a person and Brandon and Karl as a couple has been a joy to watch. They're adorable. Charlie and I knew very early on that they love each other. When talking about Brandon, Karl enthusiastically begins with, "Let me tell you about Brandon." Brandon always lights up and has a smile on his face while Karl talks about him. I'm so grateful for Karl. He's made Brandon unconditionally happy. I've never seen Brandon so excited about life and the future. I love you both and look forward to whatever comes next to this gorgeous couple. Thank you.
All right, so my name's Christopher, and I have known Karl for 22 years. I live in Boston, and I was thrilled to come. I told him I wouldn't miss it. One of my earliest memories of Karl, we met at a conference here in Utah when I lived here, before we moved. And shortly after, a group of friends of ours, we were getting together pretty regularly. And one time, I think we were leaving a restaurant. I don't even remember the event. Literally, the thing Karl did after the event was so memorable. That's all I really remember. And that is, we were leaving the event. We were in the parking lot. And it was evening, and Karl burst into, I think it's a song from one of the musicals that I don't know, but it's "The Stars at Night Are Big and Bright Deep in the Heart of Texas." And he was dancing down the parking lot of wherever it was we were. I just don't remember, but I remember that so clearly. He was like so alive, and I was just like, yep, that's Karl. I love him for it. Those are my very first memories. After that, so for many years, for the last 20 years, I've mostly seen Karl in group settings where we would be hanging out with friends. About 10 years ago, however, and in fact, he reminded me of this via text just recently. Let me just give you a quick backstory. He used to work for JetBlue, and he never used his flight benefits, but he said, hey, I'll give you mine. and as long as you promise to use them. And I did not disappoint. Like literally, I would fly to Florida for an hour and come back from Boston. So I really took advantage of it. And I really was like, I gotta pay him back. He's just such a great friend. I was calling Mark, the guy who did the ceremony. We've all known each other. And I said, Mark, we've got to do something for Karl. And I said, but I know he won't accept if we don't convince him of this. Let's get tickets so he'll come to New York and see us. And so we bought tickets to Newsies. And I literally had to tell Karl, I have already purchased your ticket. If you don't use it, it will go to waste. And he came, thankfully. We went to see Newsies on Broadway, one of our favorite shows, and it was so wonderful. And that evening, I remember we just stayed up late talking. We were sleeping on the couches in Mark's apartment. And it just was so wonderful to hear from Karl and him to start to tell me, like, you know what, I just think I'm ready to start maybe telling my family about who I really am. And then he did, and that was 10 years ago. And for the last 10 years, we've just continued to meet, sometimes in groups, sometimes just the two of us. We usually actually meet in a state neither of us live in, which is Florida. And we started doing these trips to Disney World and the area, and we would meet there and have a good time. Again, the theme that I saw when Karl sang in the parking lot kind of reemerged when you go to Disney. We would have so much fun. I remember one time we were staying in an area and we needed to go get dinner, and it started to pour. Not like today kind of rain. I mean, it was pouring rain. We were stuck, and we were trying to get some pizza from Pizza Hut, but our Uber driver couldn't find us and was driving all around. It was a mess. And Karl just remained so positive. If any of you know him, he's just like a constant source of positivity. Like, it'd be pouring, doesn't matter. He is so positive, so optimistic, and it was great to be around somebody like that. It's one of the things I love about you, Karl. Quick side note, if any of you ever need a trip planned to Disney, you really should talk to Karl. He should go into consulting doing this because he will make an amazing trip. But that's what I'm saying. One of these trips we were just not too long ago, we were in the backseat of an Uber, and our Uber driver wanted to talk to us, and he said, before I drove Uber, I actually used to work for a fireworks company. And Karl and I were like, we love fireworks. And we started to ask him, we're like, so can you tell us about fireworks? And he was literally, this is what he said. Well, there's 5-inch shells and there's 7-inch shells, and then you can go to 8-inch shells, and then there's 12-inch shells. And the reason I'm telling you this is it's literally the exact opposite of the kind of person Karl is. This guy was so boring. I was like, wow, if you would have given that job to Karl, he would have made that the most magical story you've ever heard about fireworks. And that is true. Like, he really would. Anyway, let me jump ahead. One of the recent times, also I remember Karl, we were at Epcot. We were watching fireworks around, there's this lagoon at Epcot, and they did this show called Illuminations. We were sitting there watching it, and I think it was right around the time that he met Brandon. He told me, yeah, I met this guy named Brandon, and at the time it was just kind of a quiet thing, didn't know a whole lot. But that show, we've watched it for years. It's closed now, unfortunately, but when it first opened, it was sponsored by GE. And back then, GE had this slogan, we bring good things to life. And we used to love that. It was a weird time that you actually liked the sponsorship. It enhanced the show. But now when I think of it, I'm like glad that Illuminations let go of that sponsorship, because I think of Brandon and Karl, they bring good things to life. And for all of you here, you know that about them. They are the new GE. They'll generate so much electricity and make you happy. If you're ever down, you just call the two of them because they're fantastic. All right, let me speed this up. Brandon, one of the ways, so I met Brandon just like maybe a year ago in New York for just a short time. I was visiting. But then when I really got to know him was just this last December. And Karl and I had been talking, and he said, oh, it'll be Brandon's first time coming to Disney World. And we had learned from a prior friend, you do not want to do the kind of trip that Karl and I do to Disney World on our own with somebody who's brand new at this, or they'll hate Disney for the rest of their life. So we planned very carefully, like we got to make sure that Brandon has a good time. But you know, I don't even think I should have worried about that, because in retrospect, we're all there with this little group. We get to lunch, Karl says he's got to use the restroom, we're standing outside, and Brandon says to us, hey you guys, just want you to know, right now in my bag, I have our engagement rings, and I'm planning to propose. And remember, he's never been to Disney World, but here's what I love about you, Brandon. You knew that would have made Karl so happy. You knew exactly the kind of person that he was. So we quickly scrambled. We were like, let's go to the castle and get a picture, and we'll pretend like, hey, let's get a picture of you two. And then Brandon got down on one knee, and it was amazing. The whole crowd of people watching started cheering. It was so magical. I think we have a bit of it on video if you ever get to see it. Anyway, Brandon, that's one of the reasons I know you really know Karl, and I'm so proud of you for it. Now, I've already mentioned a lot about how exciting and happy Karl always is. And I have to be careful about how I say this because you're going to think I'm offending him, but just hang with me for a second. There's a little thing where a lot of times when people are giving a toast, they'll say, you know, I've never seen this person so happy as I do now. And the only person I can think of where it's not true is Karl, but here's why. It's because Karl has always been happy. I've always relied on him to be that source of happiness. And I'm like, well, is he less happy? No, but here's the big difference. And I noticed this starting about 3 years ago, and I saw it completely that day at Disney World, and I've seen it ever since. Karl is now authentically happy. Not just outside happy, but inside and outside happy. He's authentically happy, and that's the kind of thing I always wanted for Karl. Brandon, just the other night when we were at your house, you apologized to me. You said, I'm sorry for taking Karl from you. And I have to tell you, you didn't. You did the exact opposite. You gave me the friend who is authentically happy, which is 100% what I always wanted for him, and that I want for both of you, and for everyone here, to be authentically happy for life. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up quick before I keep going, before I add to the rain. Okay, I know that the two of you wanted to get married closer to the July 4th for the fireworks, but I just have to say, your event tonight trumps any Disney fireworks show. You two are the fireworks. Let's all give them a toast. There. You can break. Sorry. Thanks for staying.
All right, real quick. I'll be very quick. Thank you for being here so many years. So thank you for being here. It means a lot. Even with the weather, just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so come back inside. We're gonna cut the cake. If you want to see that, great. Come gather around. Not required. We're gonna go up there. We're gonna cut the cake in a few minutes. Mingle, enjoy, and then we'll have some dancing in a little while. And just yes, so there's desserts in there, some treats and snacks. Eat lots of fun, completely unhealthy food. Enjoy it, and then we'll do dancing in a little bit. We'll do cake in like 5 minutes for those who want to gather around and see that. Thank you so much.